Why does it feel like our roster is shifting every single day? Panthers fans, we have two massive updates to cover. A 26-year-old receiver with solid upside was just released by his team, plus our own 4th-round rookie tight end is already drawing trade interest from contenders. Stick around to hear who they are. Like the video, comment your city so I can see our reach, and subscribe to hit 2,000. Cedric Tillman has been released by the Cleveland Browns, and I believe this move demands our immediate attention in the Queen City. As someone who watches every snap, I see a 26-year-old receiver with a 6'3", 215-pound frame who could be a legitimate weapon if he stays healthy. Tillman was originally a 3rd-round pick in the 2023 draft, and despite missing 13 games due to injuries across 3 seasons, his production of 71 catches for 883 yards and 5 touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at. What makes this even bigger is the 3-game stretch he put together in 2024, where he hauled in 21 catches for 255 yards and 3 touchdowns. Can we really ignore that kind of flash, especially when our own depth chart took such a massive hit after the season-ending injury to Chris Brazzell? I am excited about the potential here, but I also want to pump the brakes a little because Daniel Oyefusi reported that Tillman missed multiple weeks of camp with an injury and was battling for his life on the roster bubble against younger guys like Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion. Is he truly the answer we need to bolster our wide receiver room? Or is his injury history just too much of a gamble for our front office to take on right now? Looking at the reality of our current situation, this transaction feels like a classic high-risk, high-reward evaluation for Dave Canales. While I see the upside, I have to wonder how his recent injury status lines up with our urgent need for reliable production on the field. Will the front office pull the trigger on a workout to see if he fits our offensive identity, or are there underlying concerns about his health that will ultimately keep him away from our facility? How does a guy with that kind of physical ceiling end up searching for a job in mid-August? Think about it this way. The front office likely viewed the arrivals of Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion as a direct mandate to refresh the receiver room, forcing a brutal decision on the roster bubble. When you look at the track record, missing 13 games across 3 seasons creates a massive red flag for any staff trying to build reliable chemistry during training camp. I am not suggesting he is the savior we have been hunting for, but catching 71 passes for 883 yards in a limited window of playing time shows he belongs in this league when he is actually on the grass. The real mystery here is whether the medical staff at our facility will clear him after that lingering camp injury reported by Daniel Oyefusi. If the coaching staff believes they can manage his workload during the practice week to prioritize his health for game day, this could be a sneaky pickup. Does our current depth chart really have the luxury of passing on a 6'3" target who proved he could produce back in 2024? I remember watching those snaps, and there is no denying the skill set he brings when he gets consistent targets. Still, relying on a player coming off a summer sidelined by injuries is a gamble that rarely pays off without significant risk management. We need to see if his agent is shopping for a camp invite or a full spot on the 53-man roster, as that distinction defines everything for a team with limited cap room. Watching how this develops in the next few hours will tell us everything about our urgency to replace that lost production. The front office is actively shopping tight end Jatavian Sanders, and the Green Bay Packers have already checked in with a call to discuss a potential trade. This 2024 4th-round pick was supposed to be a cornerstone of our future, but now he is clearly on the block after the team brought in Darren Waller to lead the position. What nobody is talking about is just how far his stock has fallen during this training camp. Easton Butler of Packer Report confirmed that the Packers are among those interested, which makes total sense given their current injury woes with Luke Musgrave on the physically unable to perform list and Tucker Kraft managing his own recovery. Honestly, my first reaction to hearing this was disappointment. We invested a draft pick expecting a contributor, but the word is he has been unreliable as both a blocker and a pass catcher, leaving the staff with no choice but to explore his value. Is this the right time to cut ties, or are we giving up on his development far too early? I am leaning toward the move, but I also want to pump the brakes a little because trading a young player for a late day 3 selection feels like admitting a mistake rather than finding a solution. If he leaves, our room sits thin with only Waller and Tommy Tremble holding down the fort. Does anyone actually believe the current backup options behind those two provide enough security if an injury occurs? Seeing this transition unfold in the Queen City proves that the coaching staff is not sentimental when production fails to materialize on the field. They are prioritizing immediate reliability over long-term potential, even if that means moving on from a recent pick for minimal draft capital return. Getting value out of a draft pick who has not panned out is a fundamental skill for any front office navigating the roster bubble, even if it feels painful to admit defeat. When we consider that the Green Bay Packers are actively struggling with injury concerns regarding both Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, their interest in Ja'Tavion Sanders becomes the classic NFL business opportunity. If the staff believes he simply cannot grasp the blocking schemes or the nuances of catching passes at this level, then shipping him out for even a late day 3 selection beats letting him waste away on the practice squad. Here's what people are missing. The arrival of Darren Waller completely shifted the snap counts in our tight end room, making the need for a developmental project like Sanders much less of a priority for Dave Canales. Does anyone really think holding onto a player labeled as unreliable is better than gaining draft capital? While the upside of his college pedigree remains, the risk of him taking up a roster spot while failing to perform is a luxury we cannot afford in the Queen City. Other squads like the Buffalo Bills or even the San Francisco 49ers usually demand high efficiency from their depth chart, and we are finally seeing that same cold, calculated approach here. And I'll be real with you, the suggestion that we could land a swap of day 3 selections for him seems optimistic given the scout reports citing bust concerns. My honest take here is that moving on now allows us to focus on Tommy Tremble and our veteran options without the distraction of a project player who has struggled to develop. Is it a gamble to thin out the room further? Perhaps, but staying stagnant is always the biggest risk of all in this league. When you put both of today's stories together, here's the picture that emerges for the Carolina Panthers. The front office is aggressively churning the bottom of the roster to prioritize immediate plug-and-play reliability over stagnant potential. Whether it is chasing a veteran wideout like Cedric Tillman to fix our depth chart or moving on from Ja'Tavion Sanders, because he cannot yet handle the playbook, the message is clear. Our staff wants contributors who can step into the trenches today, not projects that require another year of development. And this is the part that gets me. We are witnessing a cold, calculated shift in organizational philosophy that values current production over draft pedigree. If we can secure a 6'3" target to replace lost production, should we really hesitate to take the risk on an injury-prone athlete? On the flip side, is trading away a 4th-round pick for minimal capital worth admitting we missed on his evaluation? I really want to hear what you think about these moves in the comments section below, as your perspective matters. Do you believe Cedric Tillman is the missing piece our receiver core desperately needs to find a spark? And are you satisfied with cutting ties on Ja'Tavion Sanders so soon? Navigating these final roster decisions defines the identity of the team for the entire season ahead, and I plan to track every single transaction until the deadline. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. I'm still pushing toward our first 2,000 subscribers, and every one of you helps me get there. Panthers fans, I'll see you in the next one. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Carolina Panthers news.